A very good evening to all of you. This is going to be last plenary session with couple of technical presentation today. And I believe you had a wonderful day going through one by one different topics, dynamics of energy, transition, mobility, and strategically and technically where and what type of traction we have taken up as a country and also as an industry. I am Abhijit Sinha, National Program Director of Ease of Doing Business, a piloting agency that does emerging tech piloting, prototyping, testing, and also to a certain extent commercial prototyping of technologies, products, and services of the future. We are here for this technical session on mobility, future of mobility, which is one of the most important component of our decarbonization and also making surface transport more aligned to our sustainability goals. I am not so happy, not so pleased to take this connotation of COP29, but India currently is placed on a very calibrated mode to actually provide solution to the world after a global disappointment at COP29. Whether it is climate financing, instrument of financing of trucks, mobility, infrastructure, or household, industrial, or MSME energy sector. India is in a place which can give a way, a lifestyle, or a path to tell the world that how to live with the country. So, as a planet, we as a civilization of Bharatvarsh have spent more than 7,000 years living with the nature as per our ancient wisdom and as per our ancient civilization. Today, when the world has been looking to COP29 for an extent that this will be able to provide a solution for protecting this planet from the damage or from the threat which can come up, we were hopeful that something out of it will come out. But since it could not reach to a very meaningful, transitional, valuable, bankable, fundable solution, we are as a country in position to make our own transition pathway. And I'm glad to introduce very wonderful, eminent speakers and presentations who have been selected after a long round of presentations and submission of abstracts. The presentation, the more than 675 presentations and solutions came to us, out of which our technical committee, I also chair the one of the mobility committee, to bring on a note where we will be able to give you something best in class and something more convincing and more credible to present on a platform like this. India Energy Week has been positioned over a period of time to provide a direction to industry, not only in the field of oil and gas, but also in the field of energy transition. With us, we have Krishna S. Kumar, analyst from Climate Policy Initiative. We have we are still waiting for Mr. Bharat Rao has not yet arrived. So we'll be keep on waiting for Bharat. He'll join us during the session. We have Mr. Kapil Sonkar, Senior Research Manager from Indian Oil Corporation. We also have Dr. Amardeep Pathak, researcher from Shell India Markets Private Limited. And I'm there with you during this conversation. First, we will see their presentation. Please note down your questions to yourself. After the presentation, together we will take your question. When you are asking your question, please dedicate or attribute it to one of the speaker or presenter. In between, if you are looking forward for a deliberation, if we would not be able to accommodate the question during the Q&A session, we do not have a session after this, so we will be able to take definitely a couple of them after this. Looking forward to a very impactful and a very meaningful conversation which has the right amount of intent produced from the leadership of Government of India, also the content which they are bringing on the conversation, and extent will be decided by the way we are going to adopt and take it to a transition. Thank you very much for being a wonderful audience. I believe by end of this conversation, we will have more people joining us, and to you, it should make a value of your time. We will start with Mr. Kapil to come on the presentation, and then, sorry, uh, we'll start with Krishna Kumar, right? Kapil, okay. So we'll start with Kapil, who is research manager at Indian Oil Corporation, and he is going to give us a presentation not only on the uh, Indian oil or the fossil fuel side, but also to an extent is the energy transition and how we are going to look at it in coming few years. This content is very, very important for deciding our pathway towards 2030, and as a country, since we are also planning a very technical mission mode towards 2047. That's the agenda of Viksit Bharat. So over to you, Mr. Kapil, to start.
Yeah, hello. Good evening to all of you. My name is Kapil Sonkar. I am from Intel Corporation. So today I am going to talk about the hydrogen-based fuel cell drones. So from the morning session itself, I am just learning about the battery-based mobility as of now, but I will mostly focus on the fuel cell-based, mobility on this part. Yeah. So before going to start my presentation, I would like to cover the following points, like starting from the introduction, the drone classification, and current trends and the future potential, and why should I consider the hydrogen-powered fuel cell for the drone application. However, the battery-based drone is already commercialized in the market, and we'll also touch upon the hydrogen fuel cell, where we talk about the some basic part of the fuel cell, how the fuel cell work, and we can also talk about the selection of the fuel cell which is more suitable for the drone applications. And we'll also touch about some architecture, where we talk about the hybridization of the battery versus the fuel cell, for especially for the driving the power. And we'll also touch about the hydrogen cylinder, the storage part, and some few part of the Indian Oil initiative on the green hydrogen activities, production, especially for the dispensing sites. And the last part will cover all the development of the hydrogen powered fuel cell at Indian Oil Corporation. So moving on to the next slide. So here we'll talk about some introduction about the drones. How the drones started in this, in the world. The first time that drone was used in the Second World War, where the Japanese soldiers used the balloon-based drone. And the second time that USA also used the radio-based drones over there for identifying the location of the enemies. So these first two drones have been used for the defense application only, and they were not in the public domain. The third one is released by the Japanese company Yamaha. The first time they have made the drone for the agriculture application, where the payload capacity is around some 50 kg, kilogram. So these first three, drones was limited to the particular application, but these drones were not commercialized for the public domain. The first time the DJI Phantom was released in 2013 by one of the first consumer drone, and this was used for the photography and all. So today, if you see that the drone become much more, the common items for the world, the main factor for this drone is about the advancement of the battery and the fuel system, where we talk about the more nowadays people are talking about the lithium-based battery, and the lipo batteries also there. There is a lot of advancement in terms of the performance and durability, so that people are using these batteries for making the drone. Earlier, the drone was made by the IC engine or petrol or gasoline engines over there. Some advancement in the sensor side. So drone basically is using for capturing the images, identifying the location of the individuals. So the advancement sensor and the high resolution cameras is also advanced. And nowadays we are also talking about the artificial intelligence, where the people are understanding that using the artificial intelligence, people are trying to incorporate the connectivities over there. So the 5G and advance in the people's technology. So these are the main drivers factor which is being used for proving the driving factor of the growth of the drones. Moving to the next slides. If we talk about the drone classification, so basically there are three types of drones are available in the market. One is the uh, uh, fixed wing, and the second one is the single rotor based drone, and the third one is the multi-rotor drone. If you classify these all the drones in different categories, starting from the nano and the macro, so nano and macro is total payload capacity is around some 2 kg and all. These type of drones basically used for the photography purpose, and this is very common in the public domain. If you talk about the small and medium, where the payload capacity, the total capacity of the drone around some 25 kgs to 150 kgs. These type of drones basically using the solar farm, where nowadays the solar farm is increasing day by day, and we need an advanced system which can use for the cleaning the drone, because the solar panel need to be clean on daily basis, on the weekly basis, so that we can optimize the efficiency of the solar panel. So these drone can be used for the cleaning the drones as well. And we can also use this kind of drone for the oil and gas sector, where the kilometers of the pipelines are there, which need to be monitored on a daily basis, so that we can check the filtrage of the gases or the liquid hydrocarbons over there. We can also use this drone for the logistics as well as the military applications. So here we talk about the current market and how the overall drone market is going up. So the first graph, which talk about the global drone market, which is represented in the yellow color. Today, in 2024, we stand for 30 billion USD dollar market. In by 2030, the market is going to be a double, especially for the drone market. So this is the global drone market. If we talk about the fuel cell based drone market, so the first one is representing the battery based drone. The second one is representing about the fuel cell drone. Today we stand for the 6.26 billion USD dollar, and by 2030 it is going to be almost 3 times more market over there. That would be a fuel cell based drone market. Why it is happening, I will explain these things on the next slides. And if you see the Indian drone market, so today we are standing around 2.7 USD million dollar, and on 2030 almost it's like 6 times higher than the current scenario. This slide will talk about more on the why we should consider the hydrogen-based fuel cell drone. However, its existing markets already having the battery-based drones over there. If you see the left-hand side graph, which represent the two axes over there, one is the energy density and the second one is the power density. If you see this particular graph, then you can understand that the battery is having the higher power density, but is limited to the low energy density. That's the only reason the battery-based drone can fly in the sky maybe 30 minutes or 20 minutes over there, and we have to bring them down and recharge the battery and again fly for this operation. However, you see the fuel cell is having the high energy density, almost 800 watt per kg. However, in the battery base, the drone is having some sort of energy density around 130 140 watt hour. So that's the only advantages, especially for the fuel cell side, which moving the market from battery based drone to the fuel cell based market. If we consider, if you look at the down table, where we explain, well, let's say if we want to fly the drone, let's say X over. So we need a X amount of the batteries over there. If we can replace with the fuel cell, then probably we need one small cylinders over there. But let's say if we want to increase the flight time over there, let's say 8 hours. So we have to increase the equal amount of batteries 8 times. However, for the fuel cell side will remain fixed. Only we need to increase the size of the cylinder. That you can see over the graph as well, where the mass of the energy, if you see the battery curve graph is, even though we are increasing the mass of the battery, but the endurance time is not increasing. It is almost constant. However, if you see the graph related to the hydrogen cylinder, starting from 2 liter, 3 liter, or 6 liter, if you increase the size of the cylinder, the overall endurance time is going beyond of that. Maybe let's say today people talk about the hydrogen-based drones are flying the sky, maybe some 3 hours, 4 hours. The people not talking about the 10 hours as well. So people already proven this concept over there. So that's the only reason the hydrogen-based, the fuel cell drone is getting more attention on this part. Coming to the fuel cell work, so this is basically the basic principle of the fuel cell. So basically there are 3 types of the fuel cell are there. One is DMFC, direct methanol fuel cell. Another one is the PAM-based fuel cell, and the third one is the solid oxide fuel cell. Each fuel cell having some advantages and disadvantages. If we want to selection of the fuel cell, then we have to understand the end application. For example, DMFC, direct methanol fuel cell having the low power density. Even though the methanol is easily available in the market, we can use it over there and we can use for this part. But since the low power density, this type of fuel cell is not suitable for the drone application. If you talk about the solid oxide fuel cell, of course, this is the high energy efficiency. The problem with high temperature fuel cell is for the drone application, we have to on and start should be very quickly. And the solid oxide fuel cell is having the high temperature, the operation time is much more higher side. If you consider the PAM-based fuel cell setup, this is the quick startup. Within the second, we can get the power and is having the high power density as well. So if we consider this simple diagram where you can see the hydrogen is coming the anode side, where anode the hydrogen is splitting in the proton and the current, the proton transfer through the membrane, and it is going to the from the external circuit, the current is going to the cathode side where this hydrogen is getting converted into water. So this is the basically simple flow structure for the fuel cell. And the right hand side graph is representing the, let's say if it is a OCV, open circuit voltage, we talk about the maximum voltage of the fuel cell is, let's say one single cell 1.013 voltage. So we start loading the current, that automatically the OCV voltage drop down due to some losses over there. The first part, activation losses, is represented above the catalyst part, and the IR losses is representing the basically membrane part. And the losses due to mass transfer because of the high current density, the butter flooding is there due to the losses over there. So this is basically the simple and the basic fundamentals over there about the fuel cell. I will more touch on this part of the selection of the fuel cell for the drone. So if we see over there, there are two different type of fuel cell is there, especially for the PAM fuel cell side. One is the air-cooled PAM fuel cell, where we can see the very simplified balance of plant is there. The air is required only for the participant in the reaction as well as the cooling down the overall cell, because this is the kind of the exothermic reaction. During the reaction, it releases the heat. So the air is required for cooling down, maintaining the same temperature over there. But this type of fuel cell is having some sort of pros and the cons. If you talk about the pros is the uneven temperature distribution and this having the low power density. And the cons is the simple balance of plant, so that if it is simple balance of plant, then that means the overall power density, even the overall power density is less, the overall weight of the system will be much more lesser compared to water-cooled fuel cell. So if we are considering this particular fuel cell for the drone application, then I guess this is one of the best suited fuel cell for the drone application. If you talk about the total lifting weight, let's say 0 to 25 kg, drone's full capacity is there. So maybe the fuel cell capacity is required maximum 3 kilowatt. So 3 kilowatt fuel cell can, fly this drone up to, let's say, maybe 3 hours, 2 hours, depending on the end applications. Apart from this air-cooled fuel cell, if you talk about the water-cooled PEM fuel system, where you can see the very complex balance of plant is there, because we need to maintain the humidity over there, temperature, pressure. During the reaction, a lot of heat rejection is there. Then we also need to radiator over there. So overall plant become much more complex and the bulky as well. But this type, of course, this power density is pretty high for this particular plant, but overall weight is too much high. So while considering the water-cooled fuel cell, I guess this is the this kind of fuel cell is very suitable for the air taxi. Nowadays, people talking about the more on the air taxi side, where we can at least 4 or 5 passengers can sit over there and fly from one station to another station over there. So these two different of fuel cell are there. One is like the drone application and up to 3 kilowatt, and the second one is we can use for the air taxi sides. So in this particular side, I would more talk about the system architecture and the energy management. So for moving towards the diving pattern of the drone, so we can classify it in 3 major categories. One is the takeoff, the second is the cruise, and the land. So during this particular driving pattern, if you see the first, during the takeoff time, the energy density is less requirement and the power density is much more higher side. So that while takeoff time, then the drones need more power, more energy from this side. During the cruise time, the power is not much higher required, but yes, endurance is required. So at that time, the fuel cell is the better candidate for the endurance time. So if you see the landing time, then again we have to that drones needed much more power so that it can stable in the operation side. So that time again the power is pretty much higher side, and then as well as the I mean the capacity is less. So overall, if you talk about the propulsion time, the fuel cell and battery, these are the parallel combinations over there, and these two components work together and provide the energy depending on the peak demand, depending on the driving patterns.
Kapil, last 1 minute left.
Yeah, sure. Just finish that. Okay, so now talk about the high pressure cylinders for the drone. There are four type of cylinders are there: type 1, type 2, or type 3, type 4 cylinders over there. So these type of cylinders, so for drone application, basically type 4 cylinder is much more suited because we can store more hydrogens over there. If the more hydrogen is there, we can fly for longer time hours over there. So type 1 is not suitable for the drone application. Probably it is for the static application. The type 1 cylinder is much more suitable. The next slides, now we'll discuss about the hydrogen system for the drones. There are different conventional methods are there for storing the hydrogen. One is the compressed based hydrogen, where we can store the hydrogen in the 300 bars on the, or maybe the 700 bars over there. The second one, the cryogenic liquid hydrogen. Of course, if you see the graph, the mass storage efficiency much more higher side, but the cryogenic liquid hydrogen can fly the drone up to 10 hours or the 15 hours. People already tested this type of the drones for the 10 hours, 15 hours over there. But this is very highly energy incentive over there. So this type of cryogenic liquid material is not suitable for there. So people are using the compressed hydrogen gas over there. These are the few activities, the taken by the Indian Oil Corporation, where we have installed the PAM electrolyzer, where the capacity 30 nm per hour. This type of electrolyzer produce the hydrogen stored in the intermediate cylinders and the compressed into the high pressure storage over there. The storage in the 450 bar. So these type of activities we are using for the fuel cell buses and the forklift operation as well as the bicycle. So Indian Oil is also Indianized this fuel cell bicycle at our R&D center, and we are taking this fuel cell bicycle in our daily operations. This is the facility which we have established in the Indian Oil Corporation, starting from the catalyst testing, performance, material evolution, memory rotor assembly, performance evolution, and durability as well. We also have a different type of test station available with us, starting from the 1 kilowatt to the 10 kilowatt. These are type of test facility we are using for development of the fuel cell systems. Yeah, so that part is related to the hydrogen-based drone. So we already reached to the TRL level 516, where we have made our indigenous stacks over there. Starting from the CFD analysis, we have done very extensive CFD
Kapil,
analysis over there.
these
And
presentations will be made available to delegates. In case some question left,
yeah,
we
yeah.
will be definitely able to take. But in the interest of time, you will have to wind up
Yes, yes.
quickly.
Just a minute only. So this one is starting from the CFD, and we have built up a single cell and then done the very extensive over there. So these type particular fuel cell give a higher current density compared to the conventional fuel cell stack, almost 50% higher. So this is one of the achievement done by the Indian Oil corporations. We have certain regulatory framework and policy landscape where we talk about uh, the nano category requires certification of the DGCA. Apart from the nano category, all types of the drones is required DGCA certification. If you talk about the registration or the licensing, then the digital sky platform there where we have to take the unique number for flying the drones, and the government incentive you talk about that yes, government is giving sort of incentive on the electric based drones over there, but there is not much directive incentive given by the hydrogen powered fuel cell drones.
All right. So we can skip couple of slides
Yeah,
and
sure, sure.
conclude it.
Yeah, so this is kind of the conclusion. So energy density, if you talk about the hydrogen fuel cell, yes, the energy density is pretty much higher compared to electric. The flight duration is also much more higher side compared to the battery base. So with this, I am just closing my presentation. Thank you so much for your kind attention, please.
So this was Kapil. He's an senior research manager at Indian Oil Corporation. He has graduated in chemical engineering from IIT Delhi. A wonderful 15 minutes which we spent with you. It could not make it faster than that, but very valuable information as we are holding this conversation on the mobility. This is what you can relate with, that India today is talking about the next generation mobility, which might be electric mobility, shifting a 3.5 kg stuff from one place to another place through an electric scooter or This presentation that you saw just now is giving you a glimpse that we might skip one of those leap and go to a drone delivery. Wonderful presentation. Please join me to welcome this. This was very futuristic. Thank you. Thank you. So with this, we have now our next presentation with Dr. Amar Deep Pathak. He's a researcher at Cell India Market Private Limited. I'll speak about you at the end of your presentation, but please go ahead.
So good evening, everyone. Today I'll be talking about our efforts on the freight decarbonization in Karnataka-based region based on the real-world data. Here we have a co-author Shantanu in the audience with us. And this project, I am a computational scientist working on basically the different problems related to catalysis and energy storage. At Shell, we got opportunity to work on a bottoms-up innovation, to work on a different topic, and this is the example of one such project. So before I deep dive into the presentation, that's a cautionary note. We don't need to go through it. The message is that based on this current presentation, there may be some forward-looking statements. Based on those, you don't change your mind to buy or not to buy Shell shares. And at Shell, we are very much committed for net zero emissions by 2050, where we are basically utilizing our competitive strength. We feel that we can make an impact in energy transition. I will now start the today's topic, freight transport in India. So there are a few numbers in Indian context. The CO2 emission on road transport is about 90% of the total emissions. What are the other two? The power sector or the heavy industries. And among that road transport, 90% of the road transport, sorry, among the transport, 90% comes through the road transport. In the road transport, about 61% from the diesel, 37% from gasoline, and 2% from CNG. These numbers are the cumulative effect of number of vehicles also. Like CNG is not 30% cleaner than diesel. So since the more number of diesel vehicles in the freight sector is available on the road, that's why the CO2 footprint of diesel is more than the CNG. The CO2 emissions is a kind of go hand in hand with the growth of the country, growth of the GDP. Just take the numbers between 2015 and 2019. There is 18% CO2 emission grown. At the same time, roughly 13.5% per capita emission increase. So, which means that as we go for more and more prosper economy, the CO2 emissions will also increase. And to pace up with our economic development, we need to ensure that the CO2 emissions doesn't go too high. And that's where our objective for this current work is to estimate CO2 reduction potential if we go from conventional fuel to the alternative fuels on any specific route in Karnataka based on the real world data. So if I say that suppose you want to estimate how much CO2 potential for a freight route, say from Delhi to Mumbai, the simple back of the envelope calculation would be that you know how many vehicles are going on a particular route every day. You know the mileage provided by OEM. You know how much CO2 is emitted per liter from diesel or the fuel which is used. Based on that, one can do the back of the envelope calculation. But those calculations are not based on the real world data. And here we wanted to touch base on the different parameters which can basically influence these total CO2 numbers. So how we will do it? So the data collection for basically estimating CO2 potential, CO2 emission is based on how much fuels is going to be consumed. That will come through the speed time profile, which will basically tell the fuel consumption. The second data which is important, it comes from the volume count, that how many vehicles are going on a particular route. When we know these two numbers, we can basically estimate the total CO2 emission on a particular freight sector. we have also done some techno-economic analysis which may have some forward-looking statements, so we'll not go in that direction. And then ultimately, based on this understanding, what are the recommendations we can give to policymakers? That is also a part of this study. So why speed time profiles are required? So the mileage which is provided by the OEMs are done at idealistic tracks which are available at their premises. Usually our roads are not as good as it available in the idealistic condition. Also there are variations, like there are some hilly terrains or the flat terrain that will have a different mileage. Like when you go on the hills, usually you have to go on the first gear. When you are on the flat highway, that is, you can go up to fifth gear. Or in a heavy traffic situation where the vehicle is ideal and engine is on, what is the influence of all these parameters that will be captured, or that we have captured through the speed time profile? When we know speed time profile, we can plug in these number into the powertrain model to calculate the fuel consumption. And once we know the fuel consumption, we know for this particular type of fuel how much CO2 emission would be, and that based on that we can estimate the total CO2 consumption. The second thing is the vehicle volume count. So if you have gone through any toll, there will be a category like SCV, buses, trucks. But in SCV also there are a lot more categories like 9 ton, 25 ton, 31 ton, 49, 45 ton bulkers. All these vehicles will have a different mileage, different